young family moves into an old home and soon discovers they are not alone.
I felt a very strong presence. Something was in the house.
At first, they suspect innocent ghost children.
Those kids, they died in that house.
But then a much darker force attacks.
Couldn't breathe. Somebody's really trying to suffocate me. I felt like I was fighting for my life.
Can the family escape before it's too late? In America, there is real evil. It lurks in the darkest shadows and in our most ordinary towns. Between the worlds we see and the things we fear, there are doors. When they are opened, nightmares become reality. Nestled along the southern tip of the Appalachian Trail, Hampton, Tennessee is the kind of place hikers tend to pass through.
Hampton's very small, very country. Mountains, lakes, woods, and that's it.
They have a grocery store down the street. It's really like a small town.
In October 2011, Amelia and Calvin Brady move into an apartment in a spacious old home in Hampton with their daughters, 5-year-old Sarah and 1-year-old Chelsea.
It was an older house, built back in like the 1800s. The place was huge.
What do you think?
It's so big.
It was very cheap, so we kind of just jumped on it.
It was in a secluded area. It was quiet. The kids had yard space to play in. It was a perfect home for the kids.
Calvin works maintenance at a nearby restaurant, while Amelia is a stay-at-home mom.
I was really ready to start a family, especially when I met her. I don't know what it was. It was just something drew me to her.
He was very caring. He kind of reminded me of my Prince Charming. We formed a family very quick.
Come on, Sarah.
Inside, the apartment matches the couple's idea of their perfect dream house.
It was a 3-bedroom apartment, and that's what we needed at the time. It had space for the kids to run back and forth in the house and everything.
I always loved vintage homes, so I thought it was beautiful. When we first walked in, it was perfect. Like, everything matched exactly what we needed.
The apartment is located on the 2nd floor of the old house and includes a porch. And while it's a nice feature to have, it also poses a risk.
Honey, you are not to come out here by yourself. Do you understand? Come on. Sarah was just out there by herself. It's a nice apartment, but is it safe for the children?
Look, the door has 2 locks. Here and up here. The only way out there is if one of us unlocks it, okay?
And I was like, okay, this can work because I can keep that locked. She cannot reach it, not even with a chair.
While they've solved the problem at hand, there's no way they could guess what nightmares await their family. The century-old house harbors many sad secrets of tragic deaths and an unspeakable atrocity.
Here you go, Mama.
And it's not long before Amelia senses there are spirits around them who have yet to rest in peace.
After a few days of being in the house, it started to have a heavy feeling. Like we had moved in on top of somebody that did not want us there. Like we was in somebody else's home. I just kind of blew it off. We wasn't used to the house at all. So we just kind of thought, you know, we're gonna get used to it. They'll go away. It did not go away. Both of my kids was laid down for a nap. So I thought my husband was home.
Alvin? Calvin? Calvin?
There was nobody there. I figured, you know, it's an old house. It could be animals that was in the chimney or the walls cracking. I didn't know.
Several more days pass, and Amelia can't shake the feeling that somehow they are not alone.
I heard a little voice, and I felt a tug on my shirt.
Yes, Sarah.
Amelia hears the same voice again, this time more insistent.
Mommy, Mommy, Mommy.
Sarah? Did you call me?
No, Mommy.
I know that I heard a little child call me Mommy.
What is it?
Random creaks and knocks in an old house is one thing, but a child's voice is harder to explain.
Nothing. Dinner will be ready in 15 minutes.
The baby.
Could the little girl's voice Amelia heard be trying to warn her? In 2011, the Brady family moves into the top-floor apartment of an early 19th century house located in the small town of Hampton, Tennessee.
Say thank you, Mom. Thank you.
For the young couple, the huge apartment at an affordable rent seems too good to be true.
Are you gonna help us clean up? You helping us clean up?
It was roomy, had room for each and every one of the kids.
The space was terrific. The rooms were just the right size.
But just days after moving in, Amelia begins hearing sounds. And voices she can't explain.
Mommy, Mommy.
Yes, Sarah?
Mommy, Mommy, Mommy.
There was just something about that room that did not feel right. I didn't know what at the time.
And then, one afternoon, Amelia gets the scare of a lifetime.
I just turned the corner, there she was, and there was the heater.
The baseboard heater appears to have been ripped off the wall.
I know for a fact Sarah was not strong enough to forcefully pull that heater off the wall. There was no way. None whatsoever.
By the time the firefighters arrive, Calvin has managed to put out the sparks. Luckily, the damage is minimal and no one is hurt.
I mean, it seemed to be sparking all around, like here and here.
It's a good thing you had that fire extinguisher. It could have been bad, real bad.
I was concerned about the safety of the kids. That's what I was concerned about. Because if that would have started a fire, we'd have been rushing to get out of there.
Amelia notices one firefighter appears strangely uncomfortable, as if she knows something.
Is everything okay?
Let me ask you something. How much history do you know about this place?
I don't know. We just moved in a week ago.
She said, "You don't know what happened here." And I said, "No."
About 10 years earlier, a young mother lived in the apartment with her 3 young children.
One day she had a cigarette in her hand and she nodded out. The cigarette caught the couch on fire and the rest of the house. The mother, her 3 kids, they died in the house.
2 of the children were found in a back bedroom, and the 3rd in a closet.
I probably felt every emotion. I was sad. I felt bad for the kids to hear what they went through.
Yeah, it really is tragic. You get to thinking, like, that could have been, it couldn't happen to us.
Several days pass, and the Brady family tries to put the strange events behind them. They repair the girls' bedroom so it's as good as new. But Amelia can't get the story of the fire and the victims out of her head.
It was weird to just think something like that happened in a place that, you know, we're trying to make a home. We didn't feel right about the place then, after we found that out.
A few days later, Amelia hears Sarah talking to someone in her bedroom.
Let me get the baby. Look at the baby. She's like big for me. These are my dolls, see? You can play with them if you like.
At first, Amelia is not concerned.
She had just moved away from some of her friends. I figured she was, you know, coming up with an invisible friend.
But suddenly, Sarah's playmate doesn't appear to be so friendly.
Leave me alone. Quit it.
Her voice changed, like she was getting upset. Stop. Go away.
Sweetie, is everything okay?
Mom, tell them to leave me alone.
Tell who to leave you alone?
The kids.
What kids?
The kids that come out of the closet.
Just days after the Brady family moves into an apartment in Hampton, Tennessee, they discover the tragic history of their new home.
There was a house fire there. A mother and 3 kids had passed from the fire in that apartment.
Then Sarah, their 5-year-old, starts having conversations with imaginary friends.
No, leave me alone.
Is everything okay?
Mom, tell them to leave me alone.
Tell who to leave you alone?
The kids.
What kids?
The kids that come out of the closet.
That just sent chills all over, because I believe kids sense things.
Amelia suspects Sarah's new friends might be the ghosts of the children whose spirits are not at rest.
My first thought was, it was those kids that had died in the fire.
Suddenly, for Amelia, the strange occurrences and mysterious voices in her new home make sense.
Mommy.
Yes, Sarah.
I was starting to come to terms that we were not alone. I felt a very strong presence. Something was in the house. I've always been a very firm believer of paranormal. I've always believed that there was something out there that we couldn't see.
Later that night, Amelia tells Calvin she believes their apartment is haunted.
Honey, I know this sounds crazy, but this house has a pretty tragic history. It just makes sense to me that the spirits of this poor family is still here.
Look, I understand that you're upset about the children who died here, but there are no ghosts here, or anywhere else for that matter.
I was a skeptic on ghosts and the paranormal. I really didn't think it existed. I didn't believe in ghosts at all.
He wasn't a believer. He kept making excuses.
It's gonna be all right.
The next day, Calvin's hard stance is put to the test.
Hey, Amelia, I'm home. Amelia? Amelia? Amelia?
The figure was more of a male's figure, and it was just real dark. And then it was gone.
For the first time in his life, Calvin is faced with the possibility that the paranormal is real.
When I seen the shot, I figured that's what let me know that the apartment was haunted. I was terrified. I didn't tell Amelia because I didn't want to get her more startled or scared.
But the spirits may not be as considerate. Several nights later, for the past several weeks, the Brady family has been experiencing paranormal activity in their home in Hampton, Tennessee. After hearing stories about a tragic fire that took the lives of a mother and her 3 children, Amelia believes her daughter Sarah has made friends with the ghosts of the deceased children.
These are my dolls. You can play with them if you like.
I started to think that the house was haunted with kids because my oldest started talking and playing with stuff that wasn't there. She's actually talking like somebody is actually in there with her, and there's not. There's children, ghosts in here. It was those kids that had died in the fire. There was no covering it up or denying it or anything. The more that we kept pretending like it wasn't, the worse it got.
The couple soon finds that something far darker than ghost children lurks in the house.
When I came out of the nightmare, I felt like I was fighting for air. Couldn't breathe. It was something sitting on me. It was like a massive pressure on my chest. To where somebody was really trying to suffocate me. I felt like I was fighting for my life.
Calvin? Calvin?
He couldn't talk, and you could see that he was just like struggling to get air.
It's okay. It stopped.
What's going on? What happened?
I believe you. This house is haunted. But I don't think it was a child that did this. There's something else here.
I was terrified. For me, my husband, my kids. I didn't know what that spirit was capable of.
Calvin is also afraid, not for himself, but for his family.
If I'm fighting for my life and something happens to me, that just leaves them abandoned and nobody there to help take care of them.
In the days that follow, the stress of the haunting wears the family down.
We both felt powerless. We can't fight something that we can't see. I mean, it sees, hears, watches us, but we cannot see or hear it. We didn't know what to do.
Amelia feels trapped with no means of escape.
She was wanting to move, and I was telling her that we had the lease for a year.
They have few options.
We had no family or friends for us to live with at the time. We were tied to that house financially. I mean, there was no way we could afford to move right then and there. We just couldn't do it.
Soon after, Amelia thinks she has some alone time.
Both of the girls were asleep, and that was the only time that I was able to take a shower.
Suddenly, Amelia gets a terrifying message clear as day from beyond.
It was written perfectly in the steam. My kids were asleep, nobody was in the house. I knew exactly what it was. It was whatever was in that house.
Amelia is horrified. The house is haunted by an entity far worse than the children who died in the fire. And now it's after her.
I knew that wasn't the child ghost. I knew that there were more than the children in that house. There's something bad here. And whatever it is, it wants us either hurt or dead.
The family decides to go into protection mode and make sure no one is ever alone in any room of the apartment.
We started sleeping in the living room from then on.
And I kept an eye on them through the night.
Later that night, all is quiet, or so it seems. Within a month of moving into their Hampton, Tennessee apartment, Calvin and Amelia Brady must fend off the attacks of a dark, malevolent force.
After I seen the shadow figure, that's when things started happening to me. I was fighting for air. I was fighting for my life.
Its motives are unknown, but its message is clear.
I knew as soon as I seen that, we were in complete danger. I just felt the evil.
Then one night, Amelia sees it too.
It was very dark, very thick. You couldn't see through it. It was like a very strong mist.
What is it?
Calvin, it looks awful.
Amelia and Calvin have now both seen the face of evil. With nowhere else to turn, Amelia contacts Paranormal Technology Investigations in nearby Jonesboro, Tennessee.
When she started telling me the claims of her activity, they were pretty unbelievable. Yeah, in my mind, I was pretty positive that they had a haunting, but I wasn't for sure what level of haunting they had yet.
It just finally felt good to talk to somebody, or somebody to say, okay, we're gonna come help. I mean, just those few words just relieved me.
A few days later.
Thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
You have no idea what this means to us.
Oh, our team is going to sit right up if you don't mind.
Rob Phillips and his business partner, Kathy Shepard, arrived to conduct an investigation.
You can feel the heaviness as soon as we walked in. You could just feel there wasn't something right in the home. We knew there was something there.
We did some investigating into this house, and we found something very interesting.
Kathy begins by informing the Braddys that the home's dark history started well before the fire killed the Young family.
The house was built in the 1800s. It was someone's home. Sometime in the 1920s, it was turned into a halfway house for male prisoners. Around the 1920s, Prohibition, there was a lot of moonshine in the area. With the evidence we have now, we believe that when it was a halfway house, there might have been a lot of criminal activities going on there.
When it was a halfway house, there was a man shot and killed at the home. Negative energy can definitely stir up paranormal activity.
The investigators begin by trying to make contact with the spirits.
We use digital voice recorders for capturing electronic voice phenomenon, also known as EVP.
If there's anyone here that wants to communicate, can you please give us a sign? Did you die in this house? Was there a fire? Can you tell me your name?
We concluded that there was 3 children in the home. Their spirits was still there. We got different voices in a recorder, a lady's voice, which we believe was the mother. We felt a tragedy like this would bring on a lot of paranormal activity.
Can you tell us your name? Do you live here?
Suddenly, Amelia comes under attack.
I felt a burning sensation on my back.
My back is burning! Can I look?
Oh my God.
I had 3 scratch marks going from my shoulder down. I knew I had made something mad.
Investigators now believe they are dealing with a demonic entity.
The demonic will leave 3 scratches, they'll knock in 3s, everything they do is in 3, and that's a way for them to mimic the Trinity, which is the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
And the demonic entity is holding the other spirits hostage.
The spirits were still in the home. They were trapped. They couldn't get out.
The investigative team performs a cleansing and a crossover ritual to rid the house of the evil entity and help usher the lost souls to the hereafter.
Everything was more bright, it smelled cleaner, it felt lighter.
For a while, it appears that the Brady family can resume a normal life in their home.
Go, Chelsea. Yeah, good job. Very good. You're such a big girl. Yeah, keep going. You're such a big girl.
Mom, can I get something to eat?
Just a minute.
Mom.
I just had a feeling, and when I looked at the door, I seen her out there on the balcony.
Chelsea!
I panicked. I immediately panicked.
Chelsea? Chelsea!
It is 2011.
Leave me alone.
The Brady family has been experiencing paranormal activity in their Hampton, Tennessee apartment. The haunting has quickly escalated, and a demonic entity is threatening the family.
I think something was trying to hurt the families that was living in these apartments. I believe it was a demonic that was already there when they moved in.
They can physically hurt you.
My back is burning!
They can do damage. They can tear your family apart.
After a paranormal investigation,
If there's anyone here that wants to communicate, can you please give us a sign?
the Brady family hoped their apartment was clear of all entities. But the evil has returned,
Chelsea!
and a young life is in its grasp.
Chelsea!
There was no way. She unlocked the door, opened it, and locked it back. I knew that whatever was in that house did it. I knew whatever was in that house put her on that balcony and locked her out. The door wouldn't open. It was like somebody had it on the other side. And then it finally just let loose.
Oh my God, Chelsea? Oh my God, are you okay?
The bars on my balcony, she could have fit through. And if she would have fit through them, she would have fell to her death.
Come on, we're leaving now.
Okay, that's it. I was done.
It appears the evil entity inside the apartment was not expelled as investigators had hoped.
We felt, being that this was an apartment complex, that the demon went somewhere and hid inside of another unit.
When Amelia called me, I advised her that they needed to just move. We needed to get them out as soon as possible.
I didn't care about my lease. I didn't care about the money. I didn't care about nothing. I have to protect my children.
One of the paranormal investigators volunteers to let them stay with her while they search for a new home. With their children safe with their grandmother, Amelia and Calvin quickly pack and move out of the apartment.
Is that everything we need right now?
I think so.
Doors shutting, slamming, windows opening and closing. It freaked me out real bad.
Whoa! Whoa! The house is trying to trap us. Come on, get out! Go now, run! Run! Run!
I felt like I was a prisoner that had just broke free. Like I was chasing and running for freedom. And I was gonna grab it and go.
Come on, let's go. Come on. You get in the car. Come on, Amelia.
If we wouldn't have got out at that time, something else probably would have happened, and it probably would have been worse. I was beyond done.
Drive, go, go!
The Braddys later discover that their landlord knew their apartment had a tragic past.
He laughed and said that by law, he don't have to tell me anything unless we are actually buying the home.
A little over a month later, the Braddys move into a new home in another town. To this day, they have never returned to the Hampton apartment.
We don't go near that house. We don't go near the property. We don't go nowhere near that area.
Life's pretty good, actually. We're not stressful. We're not worrying about anything. I still look over my shoulder every now and then just to make sure. I just try and take it day by day.
In some weird way, I think that house is what kind of made us stronger. It made our relationship stronger. It still lingers. I don't think I'll ever put that whole experience behind me. I still don't sleep in the dark. I don't walk in the dark. I don't know if I ever will again.